Let me tell you about the first time when I knew a demon was in my house. And it was the first time where I felt like I was dealing with a demon. Now, I'm certain that there were many other times, but this was the first time where I had any sort of understanding about it. And it was when my good friend who sees into the spiritual realm was visiting. And Brazil has happened to me. My eyes are starting to be open to new and different things. And she sees demons and she sees angels. So I'm just grilling her in our living room and asking her question after question for hours. And somewhere along the line, it's like, I got to ask her, is there a demon in my house? And so she went and walked around the house, and it's kind of like, nervous, waiting for the test results from a doctor. And she comes back, and sure enough, she says, yep, there's a demon in your bedroom. And we talked about it for a little bit, but it was so freaky. It was so weird. It was kind of like saying there was a green Martian in my bedroom. So it's like we moved on to other conversations because I didn't even know what to do with that. And about an hour later, I excused myself and acted like I needed to go into the bathroom and actually went into the bedroom. And as I was in the bedroom, I started talking to this demon, and I'm like, I don't even know if you're here, and I don't even know if I believe in you, but if you're here, you got to get out of here. And I'm sure I added in Jesus' name just to dot my I's and cross my T's. And then I went back out to the living room and still didn't tell anybody what I had done. And about an hour and a half later, I finally got up the courage to ask Esther, is that demon still in the bedroom? And so she went back there and she said, no, as a matter of fact, it's not there. And then she pulled out her phone. And this is where there should have been music playing. It should have gone do 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 because she said, oh, and my friend from Minnesota, I'm in Wisconsin. So my friend who's in Minnesota right now actually texted me about the demon. And I looked at the time because this was the beginning steps of me becoming a realist, because I'm starting to take some steps toward this, but I'm like, this has got to be real. So I want to see it. And if it wasn't the exact minute that I went in to try and get rid of that demon, it was within 2 minutes of that. I looked at the timing on the text, and here's this person that isn't in my home, that's in another state, that at the moment I tell that demon it has to leave, she texts, and the text says, I don't know what you did, but that demon is gone now. And that was the beginning of me starting to believe in demons, starting to realize that some people have insight into this. And so I can learn, and I can actually learn how to deal with them. Because if you don't know about demons, then you tend to do, like my friend Mike says, one of two ditches you go into. You either become super paranoid and freaked out about them, or see a demon everywhere. Oops, I tripped, that's a demon. Which now just that thought about demons, that way of thinking is controlling you, or you completely ignore them. And if you ignore them, let me go into my old preaching mode here of when I was a pastor, because I remember this sermon. I gave this part of the sermon many times to people, even though I didn't, I believed it conceptually, but not practically. Where I would say, okay, Satan, what is his name? The word Satan means enemy. And in Hebrew, he is called Ha-Satan. And the word ha is not the way Hebrew people laughed, it's the word the. And so his name in Hebrew is the enemy, or that's how you would translate it. So come on, if you just act like he's not there, and yet the Bible clearly teaches us we have beings that try and steal, kill, and destroy, and there's one of them whose name is the enemy, then if you ignore that, you're going to get wiped out or you're going to be controlled as well. So what I want to do is I'm going to give a number of talks. I'm not even going to put a number on it because I don't know how many it will be. But I'm going to do a number of them, and I'm just going to give you things that I've learned, things that I'm in the process of learning, and I'm not going to tell you what I do with demons because, you know, that wouldn't be helpful to most people because that's an area where I have some sort of gifting. And so I got really frustrated in my early steps of this journey when I read people who had a gifting and like with healing. And then they would write a book, but they'd write a book like everybody had the gifting. So all you have to do is this. And it didn't work for me. And so I don't want to do that to you. Instead, I want to just say, I've learned things with my gifting. And so I'm going to tell you stories. I'm going to pass on some of these things. So hopefully then you don't freak out about it. Hopefully you don't completely ignore it. And hopefully you learn some things and you can go about this balanced way of beginning to live with demons around you without being freaked out. But now, how can you actually take some steps forward? So if I'm going to give you two things today. And the first one is everyone gets influenced by demons. Absolutely everyone. Now it's like this is a big thing for me because my gifting is one where I walk around and I often feel demons or I sense demons. And I see all the time, or I feel all the time, people's lives that are being controlled and being ruined, and they don't even know it. And I can't talk to them about it. So this is like my time where I can go after it because I have not found a good way to walk up to people and say, excuse me, my name is Ken, and you have a demon, or you're being influenced by a demon. 99% of the time, I can't talk to people. And when I do talk to people, I find out that many Christians are crippled by the fact that they think they can't be influenced. They take a weird verse out of 1 John, the evil one can't touch us, or they get confused with the word possessed or things like that and go, well, no, I am God's and I am kept by God. And so because of that, I can't have a demon. And their lives are getting ruined by demons. And so that's why I read some stuff by Jack Deere early on, and I've hung on to it this whole time because it's just a really good way to talk about it. Where he says, get rid of the word possess. Don't even talk about it. Are you possessed? Because that gets, people's heads spinning. Literally, that's what we start thinking about, right? People vomiting and weird stories like that. And he said, that's not even a good translation. A good translation in Greek is demonized, which means to be influenced by a demon. So if we just talk about influence, and then he says, just use a 1 to 10 scale. Is it a 1 or is it an 8? Because if you're tempted, then that's like a 1 or a 2. And most Christians believe that demons and Satan can't actually tempt you. Well, that's them attempting to influence you. That's a 1 or a 2. If you have something that's chronic or bigger, that might be a 5. If your body is moving from them, if they're talking through you, now, okay, we've got like an 8 or a 9. But if we look at it that way, then we just go, okay, we're talking about influence, and there's this huge range of influence. And like I said, if we always look at the big picture, we go, Satan at least attempted to influence Jesus. Come on, he came, he tempted him, he took Jesus places. Now that sounds like a lot like it's some influence. He's taking Jesus places, he's tempting him with different things, and even after he leaves, because we only have one story about that, but we have that curious verse that says, Satan left until an opportune time. That means there were other times. That means he came back. So if Jesus had to fight being influenced by demons, then certainly we do. And we have to come up with a way that we talk about this where we don't act completely ignorant and immaturely and say, I can't have a demon, I'm a Christian. Because I've run into that. You remember one of the first women that I talked about, the one that the demon threw her around in my living room. I'm going to tell you more and more of that story and probably remind you of even parts that I told, because it has so much to do with demonic things, and it was something that taught me so much. But when I was working with her, when there were three of us that were helping her get rid of these demons, okay, she thought we were crazy. I mean, that blew my mind away when later, she didn't tell us at the time, but hey, when we help her get rid of two different demons, and it was so obvious, she's in the midst of this convulsing, and it instantly stops. You know, and I can't remember if I said in one of the other times, but her husband wasn't even there, and he believed it. He believed that we cast a demon out of her because he said nothing stops her seizures. And so, except for a shot in her leg that knocks her out. And so as soon as he heard that somebody said something and it stopped it, he believed it was a demon. She didn't, because her thinking was screwed up. Because while we were helping her get rid of those demons, she thought, I can't have a demon, I'm a Christian. Again, that's like saying, well, I can't be influenced by it because I'm a Christian. Jesus was influenced. Jesus had to deal with the influence of demons, but I don't have to. Oh, so here, this is what you have to realize. This was 40 years of her life. I want to swear when I say that. It was 40 years of her life of seizures, being thrown around by demons. And all along, she went to multiple doctors. She ran out of money to go to doctors. That's the only reason she came to see us. And it was because of this faulty thinking that I'm a Christian, so I can't have a demon. I get so upset about this. It's like, yes, everyone can be influenced. You have to understand that. I have a friend and his mom. Sometimes when he's talked about his mom, I've never met her, but sometimes when he's talked about her, it's almost like I have to go, stop. She was almost institutionalized. She's had so much physical health problems and so many mental health problems, and I can just feel the demonic stuff just oozing all around her. However you want to put it, it's just like, oh, it makes me sick. But at one time in her life, she went through kind of this, Christian checklist about demons or whatever, and so I can't have a demon. Look at that. I cannot have a demon. Oh, but we have to understand this. They are all over the place. In fact, so if I were to pass on things that I've learned, well, I would say this: when my gifting is turned on, I've tried to, calculate this the best I can, and I will make it lower than what I believe it is. But when my gifting, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes I walk around and boom, I sense a lot of demons, sometimes just a few. But when it's turned on, 50 to 70% of the houses I go by, whether I'm driving or walking, have some sort of demonic activity going on inside of them or around them, however you want to put it. I'm not saying that every person is being influenced, but somebody in that house or that area is somehow being influenced. And I had one time, let me just give you one other example of this, when I was leaving an air show. So there were lots of people there, but they're very spread out. And as we walked, I actually looked at my watch. I checked it out. It was I think it was a minute and a half. There were 25 ladies that had demonic things. Now, maybe some other time I'll give you my theories on why it was so many women there. But it's like, holy cow, in a minute and a half, I felt 25 people or 25 demons that were influencing people. We've got to learn how to deal with this. We have to get through our heads. Everybody has to deal with this. Second thing I want to talk about, and this was a long lesson for me to learn. It took me probably years to figure this out. Dealing with demons is best viewed as a process. Now sometimes you get that moment. Sometimes some people get that. I got some of that. I got like that moment where boom, it's gone and my life is different. Now I still had to deal with other ramifications of it, but whoa, it was wow. This was like night and day. It was like a light switch, turned off. Now, some people get that. Most of the time, I don't see it that way. So again, let's talk about this woman who had the demons, revealing themselves, manifesting themselves in my living room. The first one, I didn't sense it until it showed itself. I helped her get rid of that, and I'm sitting there praying. We're sitting there, a number of us praying together now, 4 of us praying together, and thinking it's all gone. And then a second demon throws her to the ground. I didn't see that coming. I thought, hey, we dealt with the one, we're good. Now is it what? We have to deal with another one? There's something else going on? And so after we helped her deal with those 2, I thought it was done. Then I talked to her a couple weeks later and found out that in her home, she's being thrown around in her home. And I knew God was saying, you got to go to her house. I didn't know what was going to happen there, but I knew, see, God often does that with me. He just kind of gives me a hint. So then I go there and we come together. It's her husband is there this time. A friend of hers is there. My wife and I are there. And I say, okay, let's pray. And I'll probably remind you of this in another one. But I go, if you're dealing with demonic stuff and you're walking people through that, don't close your eyes. Just not a good plan. When you're dealing with the enemy, keep your eyes open. You want to be alert. Sometimes you can close your eyes when you pray, so you're less distracted. I want to see what's going on if I'm dealing with demons. And so I close my eyes. Everybody has their eyes closed. I opened my eyes when I heard this woman's head hit the wood floor because a demon slammed her to the ground. So then, okay, got to go over there, got to cast that demon out, got to get rid of it, stand back up. Now what are we going to do? And then I watched her. This I'm sure I'll tell more of this story, but it was remarkable because every room in their house except one had at least one demon in it. Some of them multiple demons, some of them worse than others. And to watch them, you could see in her body. You could watch in her body she went into it because every room she went into where there was a demon, it tried to slam her to the floor. And so sometimes you could watch her, it starting to take her. Sometimes you could watch her go down on one knee, But it was this whole process. Probably took about 2 hours to go through her house before she could stand up in every room and not be thrown down. So now I'm like, this is great. Took 2 weeks, but this is great. Well, 2 weeks later, the worst demon came back. God gave me some insight into it, and I knew that when she was 7, I believe she was 7, she was molested, and this was the original demon. And I truly believe there are some demons that are like, like a lion. And then I can't remember, they're not coyotes, but what are the things from Mufasa and the Lion King? The scavenger guys, whatever those things are. There are other demons that are like that, hyenas. And so some demons are like lions and they go in there, rah, and they tear you apart. And then the hyenas come and then they just pick you. They pick you apart. And so that original demon, I'm just telling you this because I think this is some of the strategy of demons. Like there'll be some demons that are stronger. We read that clearly in the Bible. And it'll come, it'll wreck your life. And then all of a sudden, all these little demons will jump on top of you. So she probably had like 20 or 30 little hyenas, nitpicking her life away. And that really strong one, the lion, left to go ruin somebody else's life. But she's stuck dealing with all of these. And because she's been mauled, she can't deal with it. And so as that's going on, or I should say, now that original one came back. We got rid of all the other, the little hyenas, all gone now. So it's still not done because that original one comes back. Remember, Jesus talked about that. One can gather other ones or one can come back to a person. So that original one came back and this one was the worst. This one talked through her. This one was the strongest. And this has nothing to do with learning from it, but I'll tell you this, I'm still mad at God because I didn't get to be there for that one. I got to see the one smile through her. I got to be there when the ones were throwing her to the ground. I did not get to battle go after the one that talked through her and was the strongest. I was 40 minutes away. There was a visiting pastor from Haiti who was right next door. He came and dealt with it. I'm mad about that. I'm happy that she got it dealt with. But the whole point of the story is, do you see that whole process? Do you see that this took a month? And that's not dealing with all the other issues too. Because I'm looking at my time and I go, I have another story, but maybe I'll incorporate it into something else. But I just say, one of the reasons is with demonic things, one of the reasons it's a process is everything gets all tangled together. And it gets mixed together, and they come at times of sickness, and they come at times of weakness. So sickness and weakness and health and other big issues in your life all get put together with it. And so it's not just, somehow it's like, yeah, you got to get rid of the demon, but you have to deal with the entire situation. So there's the first talk about demons. If this has been helpful, or it's piqued your interest, or whatever, you want to see more, I will try and get another one out within the next week and give you just some more of my stories, some more of what I've learned to hopefully help you walk through this world and deal with this enemy.